You have stood next to big things: a stone cathedral, a cruise ship at a dock, a mountain, maybe. Every one of them would be small down here. There is a thing on the sea floor right now that is longer than every mountain range on land put together. It is not a creature. Nobody built it. We are counting down the 5 biggest things ever found in the deep sea, and that one is number 1. One rule, so nobody can argue. Biggest means longest, end to end. Not heaviest, not widest. The longest measurement you can take across the thing. So we start small, sort of. Number 5. The animal you were about to say. The blue whale. 30 meters of it, about 3 buses parked nose to tail. It is the largest animal that has ever lived on this planet. Bigger than any dinosaur we have dug up. Its heart weighs about as much as a piano, and it moves 60 gallons of blood in one beat. But a blue whale is not a deep sea animal. It breathes air the same as you. It only arrives down there once. When one dies, it sinks. Slowly, for hours, with nothing to stop it. In 1987, a research submarine was sweeping the seafloor off California, more than a kilometer down. Its lights found a whale skeleton, 20 meters of bare bone lying in the mud. Nobody had ever seen one. They found it by accident, and it was not a corpse. It was a town. About 200 species can live off one dead whale, and some of them stay for decades. Worms with no mouth and no stomach drill into the bones and live off the fat inside. One whale is the biggest meal the deep sea ever gets. 30 meters, then. The largest animal that ever lived is the smallest thing on this list. Number 4, beat it, and you have never heard of it. Off the coast of Western Australia, a robot camera was flying down a canyon in the dark. It found a thread. A single pale thread hanging in the water, coiled into a spiral like a dropped rope. They measured the outer ring with a laser. 46 meters. That is half as long again as the blue whale. The team who found it called it the longest animal ever recorded. Here is the part that breaks your head. It is not one animal. It is thousands of tiny animals, all clones of each other, joined in a line. They split the jobs up. Some do nothing but sting, some do nothing but digest, some do nothing but swim. None of them can survive alone. So is that one thing, or a crowd holding hands? By our rule, it is one thing, and it is 46 meters long. Weigh it instead, and the whale wins without trying. Which is exactly why we picked a rule. Number 3 is the biggest thing we ever dropped. 3,800 meters down in the North Atlantic, a ship is lying on the mud in 2 pieces. 269 meters long. You already know its name. The Titanic. When it left the dock, it was the largest moving object anyone had ever built. 11 stories tall. 46,000 tons. 5 days later, it was on the seafloor, and it stayed lost for 73 years. Ships hunted it with sonar and found nothing, over and over, for decades. The man who finally found it was not looking for the hull. He was looking for the rubbish. A sinking ship drops a trail of debris and the current smears that trail across the seafloor. A hull is a dot. A debris trail is a road, kilometers long, and you can drive a camera along it. 8 days into the search, the camera passed over a ship's boiler. One boiler. Then the deck, then the railing you have seen in every photograph since. 269 meters and still nowhere near the top of this list. Number 2 stops being an object. About 160 kilometers off the coast of Florida, the seafloor is covered in coral. Not the warm, bright kind you snorkel over. This coral lives in the dark. Half a kilometer down, in water a few degrees above freezing. It has never seen the sun. It catches food out of the water with tentacles in total blackness. Each animal is about the size of your fingernail. They build on the skeletons of their own dead ancestors for thousands of years until the pile becomes a hill. 2 years ago, a mapping team stitched together 31 sonar surveys of that seafloor and counted the hills. 83,000 of them. The reef runs 500 kilometers, and in places it is 110 kilometers wide. A living structure the size of a small country, built by animals the size of your fingernail. And here's the uncomfortable part. Nobody knew. This is not the bottom of the Pacific. It is off the coast of the United States, and ships have crossed it for 400 years. That stretch of seafloor had been written off as a dead zone. The corals were not hiding. Nobody had looked at it with the right instrument. Sunlight was the excuse. No light, no life. Nothing down there worth mapping. Wrong twice over. Number 1. It is not alive and nobody dropped it. Run your finger down the middle of the Atlantic on a map. There is a mountain range under there running the whole length of the ocean, dead down the center. Then it turns. Round the bottom of Africa, up into the Indian Ocean, across the Pacific, and it keeps going. 65,000 kilometers of mountain range in one connected chain. That is more than 1.5 times around the planet, and over 90% of it is underwater. Every mountain range you can name end to end does not come close. In one place, it comes all the way up out of the water. You know that place is Iceland. You have never seen a photograph of the whole thing because there is no photograph of it. So how does anyone know it is there? Ships spent decades pinging the seafloor and writing down the depth, one dot at a time. Those numbers sat in notebooks, and a young woman in New York, Marie Tharp, was given the boring job of drawing them. She was not allowed on the research ships, so she drew the seafloor from other people's numbers, line by line, and in the middle of her mountain range she found a valley, a crack, running right along the top of it. Her boss told her it was girl talk and made her do it again. She did it again. The crack was still there. Then somebody laid a map of every earthquake in the Atlantic over her drawing, and the earthquake sat exactly on her crack. That crack is the seam of the planet. Two plates pull apart, molten rock rises into the gap and cools, and that is new seafloor, a few centimeters a year forever. The biggest thing in the deep sea is not a thing. It is a factory, and it is running right now. 30 meters of whale, 46 meters of thread, a ship, a reef, and a mountain range with no photograph. Every size record you carry in your head is a land record. The big stuff is not up here with you. It never was.